Hello. This is another list review. This is a list that was sent to me from Lithuania. I didn't even know that bold action was played in Lithuania. Now I know. It's from a guy, and I'm sorry if I'm butchering this name. I don't speak Lithuanian, even though you are our Baltic brothers. It's from Mindaugas, I think it's called. I hope so. Mindaugas, you can correct me if I'm wrong. They have a small group of players, group of friends. They have a board game club, and they are also playing a bit of bold action. And they're setting up a small tournament, 4 people tournament. By the way, Mindaugas, 4 people is all it takes to participate in the WTC, the World Championship, the great European coming together of, well, it's not just European anymore. That's me, sorry, butchering. The world of bold action coming together. So, if you want, I can set you up with the guys arranging that. 4 people is all that's needed. You might get your asses kicked but yeah. Anyways, so they're hosting a 4-person tournament. One guy will be bringing some German grenadiers, one guy will bring in his Canadians, and one guy his Italians, and then Mindaugas, who is bringing his US. And I will talk you through his US Army list. So keep in mind that what my point of view is mostly the competitive side. That is what I give feedback on. And this is definitely not going to be a competitive list, and it's not going to be for a competitive event. This is a list where I think that the players are new-ish to the game, and they're goofing around. They're trying out different stuff. So that's what they're doing, and that is good as well. So, and the first place where I noticed that this is possibly not what I would call a competitive list is because, but that again depends on where you're at, right? It's a theatre list, and many European countries disallow theatre lists at competitive events. So, but if it's just you 4 guys doing a local club friendly game day where you each play each other day tournament style, then by all means do theatre lists. And I would encourage everyone to make events where theatre lists are allowed, because they're fun. There are lots of goofy stuff happening. So yeah, 1,000 points, 11 order dice. So maybe a bit low for what we see competitively. But for a theatre list for a goofier tournament, perfectly fine. And it's the US Airborne Reinforced Platoon. I can't remember if it even has that like special way they can para-drop down, which is a goofy rule that I don't think you should use just because you can. You don't need to use it. You can just deploy your stuff on the table, which sometimes is better because it adds an element more of randomness, that para-dropping rule. So let me talk you through the list. The first thing is he is buying a first lieutenant veteran. A single first lieutenant veteran is too expensive. It's 91 points. I get that you want to have a veteran lieutenant. You might even want a first lieutenant because he has a big bubble of a morale bonus. Not that you'll need that much morale, but because most of his troops are veteran anyway. But it's nice to have. But I would suggest that you look at maybe getting him a helper if you can find the points somewhere else in the list. Getting him a helper so that he becomes more survivable. Maybe even 2 helpers. And then equipping him with submachine guns. Double shots, always worth it. So, and then we come to the infantry. He has paratrooper squads. He has 2 identical paratrooper units. Veterans, and they are 6 men. 5 of them have rifle, and 1 of them has a BAR. Pretty standard, very, very good. And I actually like, for Americans, normally I would say veteran units, either you go min, 5-man unit, with a flamethrower or something, or you go 8 man units, maybe 7, if you're looking at something that needs to push up against the enemy. But these paratrooper units, they're not going to push up. Because they have that BAR, they are skirmish units. They're going to use the Americans' move and fire rule. They're going to be shifting around the midboard, where they will get into firefights, deliver pins, maybe kill a few guys. And they're really good at that. They're really, really good. Americans have the best skirmishers. Then he has a medic, which I think is it's very expensive for one veteran guy that can't actually fight. On the other hand, all his infantry are veterans, so he might be able to do something with that. I would not use the medic, but if you're going to use him, then have him behind one of your backline units, sitting on an objective where he can sort of support that, where he doesn't need to move out because he's just one man. He's very vulnerable. He also buys an intelligence officer, which is an interesting choice. The intelligence officer, it has this special rule. For one thing, he needs to be attached into another unit. So he's an extra dude with whatever you want to give him in one of the units. Mindaugas, I don't know which unit he should go in, though. He could go into your Pathfinder unit. Equip him with an SMG and put him in there. I'll get back to that Pathfinder unit. Okay. But he gets to one turn only, he gets to pick which dice is the first one out of the bag. That is very strong. If you sit in a one turn and you need that first die in order to do something that's really important, that is really strong, but you need to remember to do it. And I would save that for late game. I wouldn't use it in the early game. I would use it late game, where it becomes really important who gets the first die. So that's how I would use that. Then comes the Pathfinders, as I mentioned before. They have that LC landing zone signals rule, where all other units become better at moving onto the table. That includes outflanking, in my understanding of the rules. So not just from reserves, but also from outflanking. And there are units here that I think could do outflanking. Your Pathfinders need to be on the table, and they need to move up. And right now you have 6 men in the unit. Take the intelligence officer, push it to 7, because 7 men, SMGs, moving beyond the midfield into the enemy's side of the table is really strong when they're veteran. It's really, really strong. The enemy won't go assault you unless he has dedicated assaulters, like units that are geared up for that. Not many units are. And you can really dish out damage with that many machine guns. So that is how you want to use that one. Then he has a glider machine gun squad with an LMG. Now, this is a tricky one because it's 4 men. 3 of them have rifles. 1 of them has an LMG. So it's a fairly small unit. It's a non-standard size unit, right? But I still think the LMG is too expensive on units. But in this list, Mindaugas has got that medic, so maybe this one unit might actually work out as a backline holder, as a unit that sits on an objective in his own backline with the LMG pointing towards the enemy, shooting out the Daka. So, could work. But again, it's pretty vulnerable to, especially if someone has a lot of machine guns. And then another glider squad, this time with 2 submachine guns, 3 riflemen, and 1 BAR. That can go and support the other units, the midfield units of Paris. It's not as good because the Paris have stubborn, but it does have a lot of shots coming out. And because it has that mix of machine gun shots, submachine gun shots, and BAR shots, I think it needs to push. I'm not a fan of mixing like close range weapons with long range weapons, which an SMG and a BA are, right? But if you're doing that, I would push it up, and even more so because he has equipped the entire unit with anti-tank grenades. On a unit this size, 6 men, I would save the points for the anti-tank grenades. They're not going to be super helpful. 6 men assaulting a tank, that would normally mean that you have 3 hits because you hit on a 4+, which would give you a +3 penetration. So most tanks, you're not going to be able to kill them anyways. I think if you're going to go anti-tank grenade, you're going to have to go for big units of infantry to give those anti-tank grenades. On this unit, I don't think it's necessary. Just push them up as a support unit to the first row of skirmishers and save the points. Maybe use them for another guy on your lieutenant. Then he has a medium machine gun team. As many people might know, I am not a fan of medium machine guns at all. They're fixed. But especially because you do have one unit already, one of your infantry units already has an LMG sitting in your back zone, in your deployment zone, shooting out. This also needs to end up, or will end up, in your deployment zone most games, and just shooting out or being on ambush. I think it's too expensive, especially as veteran. All of this is bought as veteran, right? So I think it's too expensive. I think you can do better with a mortar. Medium mortar if you can get it. Light mortar if you have to. Light mortars are also brilliant. Then you have a bazooka team. And this is another reason why I think you don't need those anti-tank grenades. The bazooka is all the anti-tank capability you need. Everything else is just gravy on the top. The bazooka will kill any tank that you put it up against, with the exceptions of maybe some of the super heavy tanks that might survive a bazooka attack. Bazookas are really, really good. So you don't need anything more than that. And a jeep to transport that, again, veteran. No, sorry, the jeep is an armored car. It has an MMG. Okay. Having a jeep to transport your bazooka gives you extra range to hit targets that are hiding in the enemy's deployment zone. I don't think you need it. I think you're okay, especially because you have that LC rule, which means that you can have your bazooka and outflank, and then come in at the back line of the enemy, shooting his tank in the flank. That's fun. So the jeep is okay. For the points, it's fine. It doesn't have recce, which I would want on most of my armored cars if I can get it, but it's perfectly fine. The MMG is annoying, and it's a good backline holder. It's a way better MMG than your other veteran MMG on your fixed infantry team. This is way better. It even costs like 15 points, no, 25 points less. The medium machine gun team veteran is 65 points, whereas the Jeep here is 40 points. See, the points values for machine guns they're really wonky. They're not good. Final thing is an M5 Stuart light tank, not the darker tank, but the light tank with the reinforced armor, which makes it a 9+ tank. It is a good tank, especially veteran here, which means that you can Mindaugas can take the gyro stabilizers and shoot his light anti-tank gun with that. But it is very expensive. 196 points. I would try and find something less expensive if you can than the Stuart. It is good, but it's very expensive. And I would use those points for something else, preferably, I think, infantry. And maybe getting that extra order die somewhere in here. exchanging the machine gun team for a mortar. So, yeah, maybe even getting a sniper if you can, or a flamethrower team. A flamethrower team and a jeep. That would really work in this list. So, that was my feedback. Good luck, Mindaugas, and let me know how it goes. Oh, and again, if you want to be hooked up to the world of bold action and not just playing Lithuania, give me a call. I'll see if I can make it happen. Cheers.